Welcome to another edition of the Caregivers Network podcast, the place where family and caregivers come together to learn, grow, and get supported. I'm Reggie Cunningham,
And I'm Marlon Phillips.
and each week we explore personal experiences to help us navigate and deal with the challenges of caregiving with confidence.
And whether you're supporting a loved one or working on front lines, we want you to know that we stand with you. And today our guest is John Buckles, and John took care of his mother. And John, why don't you give us a little information about you and your background and how all of that came to be?
Okay, it's very interesting, but I'll give you the shortest version of it. Um, I was born in Barbados. My family, my mom and dad had five of us at the time, and then things got a little rough in Barbados from an employment standpoint, so they went off to England and sent for my sisters and brothers in England. I, being the eldest, decided I stuck around with my grandparents because they needed help.
Oh,
In
wow.
any case, my parents proceeded to have two other kids in England. So I'm one of seven. I'm the first of seven. They lived in England for years. I never lived in England. I visited, but never lived there. And then I came up to the United States, and they retired in England, went back to Barbados, and retired and built this home. And as elderly folks, all the friends and so on that they had in England for like 45, 50 years, they weren't there anymore. So they're in Barbados. And as they were getting a little up in age and needed help, I was working with Nationwide Life Insurance in Columbus, Ohio, and I didn't spend any time with my parents. I decided to retire a couple of years early so I can spend time with them,
Oh, yeah.
not knowing that I would end up being one of the chief caregivers.
Yeah.
Now, what prepared me for that? I was raised with a grandmother who was a pastor of a Pentecostal church. And when I got to the age of 17, 18, and so on, she said, John, if you want to eat, you got to learn to cook. If you want to, wear clean clothes, you got to learn to wash. If
Wow.
you want to have groceries, you got to learn to shop. So I did all those kinds of things, not knowing that at my retirement that I would end up doing that for my mom and dad.
Oh, wow. So we
So,
just want to let you we,
so
we
there was
just want to let you know
also,
something that that we all concur that nobody started their life saying, I'm going to plan to be a caregiver for my
right,
family. So welcome to the club.
absolutely.
Definitely not.
And I had I'm the first, I'm two boys and five girls, being the first boy. And the fact that my sisters lived in England and my brother is a professor at a university and so on, uh, it fell on me to head down to Barbados for 5, 6, 7 weeks at a time to be with mom and dad. And then dad didn't suffer too much. He died of old age. He was 97. He
Oh,
died.
wow. Living a good life.
And then mom, she died at 92, but 5 years into her living, she started getting dementia and needed a lot of help. And so there were some very interesting uh, discussions with my sisters and brothers, but most difficult with my mom. She
Hmm.
did not want anyone in that house that wasn't a family member.
Wow.
Um, Being a male, I wanted a female to come in and take care of mom during the day. And mom did not want that. She did not want it. She fought it tooth and nail until I put my foot down and said, Mom, look, you don't have a choice anymore.
I hear
This
you.
is going to happen.
Yeah.
She ended up really enjoying the lady that we picked. And the lady was a pretty good caregiver, but she come from 8 till 4 in the afternoon, and after that I took over.
Wow.
So let me talk about the family structure a little bit, because I had 5 sisters and 1 brother, and one of my sister, bless her heart, she passed away. But I came to realize that not all siblings can be caregivers.
Amen. We agree
Yes.
with you on that. Absolutely.
Some they all care very much, but they can't do the hands-on stuff.
Yes.
My brother, for instance, would never be in there with mom and with the experience that I went through, but he would contribute financially.
Right. Yeah.
He still cared deeply. Some of my sisters, same thing. They would come and they would spend a little time and so on, but they go back to their work in England and so on.
Mhm.
I'm retired, so I have the time. When I explained certain things to, like, my brother, for instance, one day I got up and mom was singing. She was her mind was somewhere else, and she was naked as she's born.
I hear you, John.
I have
Yep.
not seen my mom naked since I was like 4 years old. And my brother said, "What, John? What did you do?" I said, "Well, I took her in the bedroom and I put clothes on her. What else can I do?"
Yes. Yes.
Marlon's
So
got some
it's those
experience with that.
hands-on things that some siblings can't handle or will prefer not to handle. Let's put it this way. And some
So yeah.
siblings,
Yeah.
it doesn't bother some siblings.
Well, let me just say this. I'm not saying it doesn't bother you because I used to joke with Reggie. I may have told you that I saw more of my mom's anatomy in the last 6 months of her life than I did in 93 years.
Yes,
But to your point, you know, if you're not in the trenches, hands on, I mean, nobody really knows that experience. The other side of that, if you don't do it, who will?
Yeah.
correct,
You know, because your mother certainly would do it for you.
Yeah.
You know, so you
correct.
just
Well, John, let's
And
talk
so,
about that. Oh, real quick. How did you feel the first time you had to go through that experience?
well, let's put it this way. Uh, I immediately man up because I, I, I looked at mom and I remember things she told me, some little things she told me over the years. I mean, she said to me, "John, you started all the downfall. You're the first. You started it all.
wow.
You is what caused me to be looking like who I am." Because I said, "Well, Mom, you were only 17 years old when I was born. You should have been in school studying and so on and stuff like that." But she explained to me that she cuddled me more than any of the other kids, because at the time she was 17 and she was getting pressure from her parents and from her sisters and brothers that she was too young to have a baby.
Wow.
And she cuddled me because she think that I needed protection. And
Mm.
so when I see my mom in that stage, I immediately says to myself, that woman took care of me.
Mhm.
That woman nursed and
Absolutely.
breastfed me. That woman cuddled me when I needed cuddling. And so
Mhm.
now it's my turn
Mhm.
to repay her for that generosity, that
Yeah.
motherly
Yes.
love.
Yeah.
That's all I thought about at that particular moment.
Right.
So so it didn't scare me. There were some other things that I wanted to mention, and that is when mom was in her good mind, she designated certain roles for her siblings. For me, she would say things like, "Okay, John, you need to take care of my bank account.
Mm-hmm.
Any arrangements around this house, like structural arrangement, you have to take care of those kind of things. She never called me by my first name, John. She always called me by my middle name, Bentley. That's my middle name. So she would always call me Bentley. In fact, when I'm about to go to Barbados, she would say, delay any discussions about certain expenses, certain medical things until Bentley arrives.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that trust factor
Yeah, yeah.
that she instilled. And to the point where some of my sisters and my brother would say, John, you know, you were always the chosen one, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
whatever.
It's not my fault. I didn't make the rules here.
I didn't make those rules. And, um, but there's some other things like going shopping for clothing for my mom, uh, medical clothing and stuff like that. Believe me, I was taken aback by how to buy these things.
Yes.
and
Yes.
and so on and so forth. And I would go to the supermarket and I said, okay, I need these Pampers, blah, 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 and I need them in this size and I need this.
Yeah.
First time I ever experienced that kind of stuff.
Listen,
But
I'm
the
laughing with you,
overriding
not at you.
issue there is that I am taking care of my mom. So
Yes.
suck it up, John, and get it done.
Yes. I just want to say, I first experience I had with that, I was buying my mother some disposable undergarments. Like you, I had never done anything like this before in my life. So, I'm in the store aisle. I'm looking based on what she told me to look for. So I guess I must have looked perplexed because several ladies came down the aisle and asked me if I needed help and assistance. I was like, yeah,
Yes,
I'll take all you got right now. But
yes,
I can appreciate your situation. The other thing, to your point about sucking it up, I'd be looking down the aisles to make sure that nobody saw me down that aisle because I wanted them to be clear. I'm buying this from my mother. Didn't have anything to do with me. But anyway, I'm being a little cynical, but I definitely experienced what you did as far as shopping for their necessities that I had never done before. So,
absolutely. And some of the other stuff that came up that is the nature of daily conversations with my mom.
mhm.
Um, what to say and what not to say. Because the fact that dementia takes your mind and put it into different areas, you
Space,
don't know
yeah,
exactly how which one is going to be front and center this particular day,
yeah,
or you might say something that trigger a negative reaction because of an experience that mom might have had in the past,
hmm,
and it should not be brought up, and so on. So you walk through those conversations very gingerly. You're very careful. Example: Mom always liked to wear these wonderful dresses and these wonderful hats, with all the frills on them and stuff like that. She was very proud of those things.
yeah,
And she had a closet full of them. So I'm in her room and I'm sitting on the bed and she's there and she's talking and cleaning up things. And I will open the closet door and I see all of these wonderful clothes. And I would say, Mom, these are beautiful stuff. And she would look at me and she smiled and she says, oh, yeah, that one, that's one, that so. Okay, that happened in the morning. By 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Mom is taking a rest. She got up, and then all the dresses and the hats are spread out on the bed
hmm,
because
yeah,
she went back and pulled them out and do an inventory and all of that kind of stuff. No need to wear them, but she spent a whole lot of time just doing that,
yeah, yeah.
and that's a good one. There are negative ones that happen also. You know, I was taking her to a birthday party. She haven't gone to one in years, and the fact that I took care of her finances and had her money and stuff like that, she took one of her purses and she was looking for her money and couldn't find the money. And then she's accusing everyone that ever visited the house of stealing her.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And no matter how I convinced her that that's not so, it was in her mind and blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. So what I had to secretly do is go up, take all the bags down. I slipped some money into the bag out of my
Fun.
pocket and I gave it to her. I said, Mom, here's your money. That solved the issue and we were ready
Yeah.
to go to the party.
Yeah. And my mother went through that in the dementia also, just uh, thinking that people had come into the house and had taken some of her things and, moved her money and stuff like that. So to your point, I just put all of her money just in one location, understanding that she really wasn't doing any shopping. To her, it was just, I always had a few dollars in my purse. So I just
Yes.
put all of the things in one location, her social security card. She had an obsession with her social security card and knowing where it was at all the time, even her passport, even though it was expired, she just wanted to know, where it was and her little, house money and stuff like that. So I can definitely relate to that. But let me just ask you one other question, John. So when it came to like her finances, I know here in the United States, I had power of attorney and stuff like that. Is it the same scenario as far as verifying and identifying and going through the semantics of, being responsible for her finances in the Caribbean as it is in the United States? Is a little more cumbersome for you, or?
It's a little different. Mom had a will and she named myself and my brother as the executors of the will.
Okay.
She got a pension from, and dad got a pension from working in England, and that money would get deposited directly into her bank account in Barbados. And so I had to present uh, a statement of the will from the lawyer to the bank, verifying that I can do those kind of transactions.
Mhm.
So I had carte blanche to go and withdraw money and so on and check the deposits and all of those kinds of things uh, for her. And pay the caregiver that will come in the morning and leave around 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and pay her on a weekly basis. Do that care for mom during that time. And so any any finances I could take care of wouldn't be a problem at all. Um, the other thing too is that we had, of course, the house. The house was paid for, but the upkeep of the house, the taxes, and the electric bills and the water bill and so on. We also had some land in the country that was rented out that collecting the rent and so on for that land. All of that had to be done, but it had to be done by an executor, myself. My brother decided, well, he doesn't want much to do with that. John, it's all you. Blah, blah, blah. I understand that. He's a very busy man, vice chancellor of the university. He doesn't have time for that kind of detail. I am retired. I have time for that detail.
Mm-hmm.
Even today, at that pass, I still have folks in Barbados that pay the water bill and pay the rent and pay the taxes. I send money for them to do that stuff.
Right.
But even during that period of time when mom insisted that she wants to do an audit on her own, she wants me to take her to the bank. And I would take her
Wow.
to the bank and she would sit there and the bank would go through all the deposits and so on. It made no sense to mom whatsoever. All she wanted to know that there was money in the account.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't handle the details. Her mind would not let her handle the details, but she needed that assurance And I was very strong in giving her that sense of assurance, that ownership that she needed to
Hmm.
do that. And that one didn't work out too badly at all.
So Reggie and I, we talk about it all the time. And I think that those types of situations, maybe it draws in, or they think you're cutting off their independence,
Correct.
because they typically have been able to manage it themselves, or in their own mind can manage it. And then when you come in, to earnestly help them, they take it as a sign as that, you're taking something that I used to do from me, and therefore you're impinging on my independence.
Absolutely. It took her a pretty long time for her to release her debit card.
Wow.
Uh, when she gave me the debit card for the first time, I was shocked because I knew she keep that as close as her Bible.
Yes.
you know,
Yes. Yes.
and so on and so forth. So that was very interesting, how she handled that. But here's some of the other things that I found helpful during that period of time as her mind began to deteriorate. Is once a week I would take her on an outing. I would take her to the beach, just like a beach restaurant, and buy
Hmm.
lunch so that she can see the waves and she can feel a sense of being out. I get her to dress up and let's do
Yeah.
that. And drive around the island, come back. And she remembers certain things as I was driving around the island. It recalls some her youth to her.
Oh,
She used
wow.
to be, yeah, she used to be this place at a picnic when she was a teenager. She was this place for church when she was a teenager, and stuff like that. And I found that that was very helpful in
Hmm.
helping her to feel a sense of community,
Hmm.
Okay.
and so on. Um, I would also take her to places where she used to go and buy plants and buy fruit and vegetables. And these were from some people that grow these small farmers. They would sell things like coconut and avocados and stuff like that. I would take her to those places so she can buy, and she remembered
Mm.
these people.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
fact,
Yeah.
there was one situation I took her to buy some bananas once, and this young man brought several bunches over, and she asked the young man, "Do you know him?" Meaning me.
Right.
And the guy says, "I." He had a little beard and stuff like that, and he says, "No, I don't." So mom said, "But that's Bentley." And he said, "Oh no, he taught me at elementary school." I actually taught him at elementary school.
Oh, wow.
I, I didn't remember him. He didn't remember me. But mom thought that was so funny. It was a good outing for her
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
do that.
You have to change the routine a little bit.
Change the routine a little bit. Religious observances. She used to go to church every Sunday. I would drop her off at church and then go and pick her up. And as the
Mhm.
years went on, she couldn't get go to church anymore. She was too frail, and her mind wouldn't allow her to go to church. But church members wanted to visit her at home, and they would come and they would pray and so on. I provided that opportunity for them to come into the house and have a religious conversation with mom and so on. Her mind would go in and out of it,
Mhm.
but it gave her a sense that this you are still God's child and
Yes.
so on, and give her that comfort for her religious blessings and so on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So,
I found that to be very, very helpful to keep mom in an equilibrium that she preferred.
Well,
so
John, let
John, who
me,
took care of? Go ahead, Reggie.
I was just going to ask, John, For someone else coming into this situation like you had to come into it, do you have any advice that you would give them?
To a caregiver.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, some of the thing advice I gave was expressed on previous podcasts. One was patience and understanding. You have to be extremely patient.
Yes, indeed.
You got to temper critical analysis. In other words, you do not criticize your mom because she can't do certain things.
Hmm.
Hold your tongue in those regards. The other thing is that parents have, for some reason or the other, distinguish between their children. You got to know your place in that, how you're categorized in parents' eyes.
I hear you.
If a parent did not give you the love and affection that you thought you should get for one reason or the other, right?
Right.
You would tend to behave a little differently with your elderly
Hmm.
mom,
Hmm.
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
You got to be very careful with that kind of stuff. And
Mhm.
so I would say that know your position with your elderly parent. Know where you are
Mhm.
and how you were profiled by your parent.
But
Now, that
do
might
you think
sound
that the dementia impacted that thinking?
because I heard from a professor once who said that as a parent lived and the conversations that they have, when they get that into that stage of dementia, they act it out. It comes
Mhm.
back to the fore.
Mm.
Mhm.
Conversations, if your dad, for instance, is a big time philanderer, when he gets to that stage and there's for instance, there's a female who is doing the house care, he might make passes
Mhm. Interesting.
big time.
Wow.
Uh, if he cusses and uses indecent language and stuff like that, they tend to repeat that in their conversation as they get older.
Mm.
So it comes back. So you got to be understanding of that kind of stuff.
Well, that's interesting. I hadn't heard that before, but it makes sense, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So the other thing we want to share with you is that when we have these conversations, we ask everybody to understand that we are praying for strength. And we
yes,
pray that God gives you strength because one thing we've learned, if
Yes.
you're a caregiver, to your point, God will test your patience with your
yes,
patient. Okay.
yes,
Not an oxymoron, but to your point, you gotta learn to manage your patience because it will be tested,
right.
so
One of the other things that I struggled with at first was male versus female
yes.
caregiving.
Mhm.
Um, when dad was bedridden because he had a little Parkinson's in his legs and it weakened his legs, there was a caregiver, was a female, a young female. And what I just mentioned, she went through all of that with dad.
Hmm.
Uh, Understand that. Um, I remember once one of my sisters was in Barbados and dad fell off the bed. And of course, she couldn't lift him up. I was staying at my brother's house and she called. It was 6 o'clock in the morning. Said, John, dad fell off and we can't get it. I said, okay, I'll be there. When I got there, I was happy that I was able to take him and lift him up and put him back on the bed. And I was strong enough to do that at my
Right,
age, right? And
right.
stuff like that. Okay. Now, when it came to mom, there was a suggestion that there was going to be a male caregiver. I immediately put a no on that one. I said, no, I'm not going to have some teenage young kid taking care of my mom. No, that's not going to happen.
I hear you. Wow.
So I got a female who had knowledge of my grandmother's family and so on to do that, and she did a hell of a job.
Mhm.
When she uh, came in the morning, she would greet mom, and mom would greet her, and so on. But then it came to when I see mom in a very precarious situation, naked as she's born, uh, or she's in her room and she's taking all of her clothes off and throwing it on the floor and all of that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
I am the male now.
Mhm.
And how do I behave? Now, there's certain things I can do, and I can put clothes on
Mhm.
and so on. But believe me, I felt very uncomfortable doing washing up and cleanliness
Yes.
like that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So how do I handle that when I'm there by myself? Well,
Yes.
we were lucky that we had uh, people around mom that were all church goers and so on, who I can reach out to and says, can you come here for 10, 15 minutes
Mhm.
and do a personal cleanup for mom
Right.
and put her in good shape so she can go back to bed. Now, not that I couldn't do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I felt that difficult thing to do. I can put clothes on, but I can put a hat on. I can wash your face, but I'm not going down there. You know what I mean?
Oh, I listen, John. I'll tell both of you. I've been in that situation, and God always gives you a little insight because I knew invariably that was going to be the situation. I was going to be there with her, she and I by myself, and she was going to have a catastrophic accident, okay, which required to change everything, gown, her undergarment, her bed. And, I was very, very reluctant to have to get that personal. You know what I'm saying? And God bless her. She did all she could herself. And you know, we just had to get through it. You know what I mean? My mother had her vanity and she was just as uncomfortable as I was, but there's nobody on this call who's going to leave their loved one soiled and not
Right.
take care of that situation. To your point, she did that for you when you were young. And we just got through it. Now, the long and short of it is we got through it, got the bed changed, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I get her squared away in bed, but when they look up with you with those religious and spiritual eyes and they say, son, God put you here for a reason, and I love you. I know it was difficult, but we got through it. See, that makes it better. Now, you might have to go have a drink, but you do feel
Yeah.
better, and you thank God for getting you through it because it was just as uncomfortable for her as it is for
Yeah.
me, you
Absolutely.
know.
Yeah.
And you think
Absolutely.
about, like you said, she did all of this for me. And exactly, and we used to have that conversation. She said, well, I took care of you when you were younger. I said, yeah, mom, you did, but this is different. We're all grown here. I'm not a baby now. I'm grown. She said, son, I understand. But you just got to do what you got to do, you know.
And one of the other things that I found that was very interesting is how, as they aged, how they held on to their living arrangement. For instance,
Mhm.
um, mom was very proud of her curtains and so on, and she loved to hang them and admire them and so on. And she would have me re- take down those curtains and replace them at least once every 2 weeks for some reason or the other. I don't know.
Yeah.
And because got up one morning and this is what she wants to do. And so she's Bentley, come on, do this, do that. And I would, I would oblige her and I would do it.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
She had a TV that she brought from England, It was probably manufactured in 1950, but she would never let me replace it. She won't let me get a smart TV, for instance. This TV, you can, she loved it. She bought it back in years ago, and dare I try to replace it. I couldn't do it because she
Mhm.
wouldn't allow me to do it.
Yeah.
There was a stove there that she bought years ago that needed a replacement. She won't let me replace it. She
Hmm.
won't let me replace the refrigerator, you know? Stuff like that. She held on to it to the very end,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So to her, her environment, her living environment, she was
Hmm.
comfortable that way.
Mm,
But also
Don't
that was
just
her environment and she controlled it. So any
absolutely
changes without her consent, if you will, or involving her, they're just, yeah, they're not feeling it. I can relate to
don't
that as
disturb
well.
it. Don't disturb it.
yeah. I,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I
yeah.
gotta tell you, I'm amazed that all that stuff still work because they don't make it like that anymore.
You know what? You can hardly see it, but it works. It's a.
I
I
thought you
took
were
a
going to
couple.
tell us that she put the new TV on top of the old TV.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
Yes.
So there were things around her in the house that dare you disturb them. Just keep them the
Hmm.
way they are. Let her feel comfortable. Let her
Right,
have the ownership.
right,
Yeah.
Leave it alone. Although you at this age now, smart TVs and all of that, and stoves that you don't have to oil up and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Suck it up and leave it the way it is.
So, John, let me ask you this. So, when you used to go back and forth, did you ever get concerned, like, when the island would lose power during a storm and who would manage her, or she just manage herself because she was accustomed to living there, or?
That's an excellent point, Martin. I'm glad you brought that up because one year I was there, we had a volcano in St. Vincent, an eruption in one of the islands. And normally the trade winds to send that ash and so on down in the Western Caribbean. But for some reason, the trade winds send it east. And Barbados was black for 2 days. You
Mm,
couldn't see the sun, and all it was ash. And
mm,
you cannot, the ash was so fine. When you look on the ground, you can see the ash building up. So what you have to do is close all the windows and so
mhm.
on, so that the ash would not come in the house. But the ash will accumulate in the gutters on top of the roof and so on. I could not get mom to close the windows because she is so accustomed to having the windows open so she can get fresh air in the house.
Wow.
In the living room, all the windows are closed. I would go into her bedroom, and guess what? She has the windows open. There's ash everywhere.
So did she have screens or just open window?
Well, the screens are not even going to stop the ash because it's so
Oh,
so
fine.
fine.
fine. Okay.
It comes through. You have to literally close the windows. So that was a major cleanup. If I wasn't there, I don't know how it would have been handled.
Mhm.
But I was lucky to be there at the time that I can have contractors and cleanup people to come in and clean the roofs and clean the gutters and power wash the house, power wash the driveway, all of those kinds of things. And so on. Mom could not have done that.
Right, right.
So I was lucky in that regard to be there at the time
What about the
to do that.
power?
Now, when power went out, similarly, power went out. It's that way for maybe a day and a half or so, and then it will come back on. The
But your
thing
mom,
about
she could manage that, no issues
well,
with the power going out?
what happened is you find this very common in the Caribbean is that they have water tanks, for instance.
Mhm.
So that if there's a water main broke somewhere, your tank is like a 50-gallon tank or something or a 100-gallon tank. Water is always in that tank. and it
Mm.
could last you for like a week.
Okay.
So that was not an issue. Electricity now, if the power go off electricity, what happened is that they use candles and oil lamps and so on, and that suffice.
Mm. Okay.
And the candles are everywhere, and so on and so forth.
So they had what? Do you have gas cooking there?
The gas cooking, yeah, the stove is a gas stove. The gas tanks are at the back of the house. It runs to the stove. And it works.
Okay.
It's not central gas.
Right. You have a gas tank somewhere, something like that.
Right, right.
Okay.
So in that regard, that's very common in the islands.
Hmm.
You see that where people have these alternatives to centralized
Hmm.
electricity, centralized gas deposits, and so on and so forth.
So I had one other question I wanted to ask. So culturally, right? Barbados, just culturally, what is their uh, mindset on caregivers? Man versus woman, old versus young. Is there a cultural, are the cultural differences? Are the kids expected to
Well,
take care of their spouse? What, how does
I
that?
uh, I try to dig into that a little bit to see if Barbados was any different than other cultures. I know in the Hispanic culture, they have very large families. A lot of them are from a Catholic background. One sibling is always designated
Um,
to be the caregiver, and expected to be. How that selection happened, I don't know, but it happens. I tried to see if that was so in Barbados. I think at one point it was. Now that the country is all into the modern age and so on, and you have nursing homes prevalent around and so on, it's a little different. Some
was it
people,
typically a woman or a man most of the time? What was the gender most of the
it
time?
was mostly women
Mhm.
that provide that caregiving.
Right.
Today, you will find males are beginning to provide that kind of care. In Barbados, we always had a culture of male nurses,
Right.
right?
But not
Uh,
male caregivers.
Male nurses extended forward to male caregivers,
Right,
but
right. No, but I
uh,
was thinking to your point when you said, okay, so a male nurse, you didn't have an issue with them coming in and look on in on your father, but you adverse to a male nurse coming to take care of your mother.
yeah, that was my uh, what do you call that? My
Idiosyncrasy.
ego, my
Pet
manly
peeve.
whatever it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, I hear you.
I looked at it as that's too close for comfort as far as I was
Yeah.
concerned. Uh,
Yeah. Well, John,
Not that the person could not do a good job,
I
but
wanted to ask
it was
you
my
something.
thinking about it.
I wanted to ask you something, and I want to ask Marlon this too, because we've never talked about this. Because we've all been just thrown into this situation. What have you learned from this experience?
Well, what I have learned is several interesting things. That, for one, was I prepared for this as a
Mhm.
young man?
No.
Was I uh, raised by a grandmother who taught me domestic chores, not knowing that that would manifest itself down the
Mhm.
road?
Interesting.
Uh, and that when I was faced with it, I wasn't horrified by the situation. Was it the fact that I have two daughters and raised two daughters and understand a little bit about how the female age and so on and their behaviors and so on? Did that prepare me for this experience? I
Mhm.
don't know. Subconsciously, I think so. My brother who was a professor, looked at me and says, you know, John, you should have been a girl because of the things that I told him about this experience, not
Right,
only
right,
with
right.
mom, but with dad. And he said, John, you know, I could not do this.
Mhm.
And that's of how he was oriented. He never had that kind of upbringing like I have,
Yeah.
So
you know.
to me, that sounds like that's a cultural thing.
You know, I don't know if I can put that label on it, but you might
Right.
be right. You might
You
be
know,
right.
it looks to me to be more the dynamic between men and women. Typically, the woman is going to be the caregiver in this situation. I remember, growing up, and my father is from the southern states, and back then in the farming community, the family took care of their own. There was no nursing home to go to or anything like that. And I
Right,
distinctly
right.
remember my aunt taking care of my elderly grandmother. But my dad,
Mhm.
like your brother John, always sent money home to
Yes,
help out, and we always visited. And but that was just the way it was. But as
Mhm.
folks moved away from those rural communities, we had to find alternatives for the elderly
correct.
because you don't have one big families anymore, and folks are generally working a 9 to 5 away from the house, and so there's no one there to take care of them. So, but Marlon, I
Yes.
wanted to ask you that same question, man, because we hadn't talked about that. I had never thought about that before.
I just think that, when I look back over just the way that my mom took care of her mother, uh, that she didn't put her in a home. She brought her to the house and she lived there. My dad, when he became terminally, or she would not put him in a home, she brought him home and he lived there. So maybe that was God preparing me for this, but I didn't know it at the time. Because I tell you, I had no desire or inclination to have my mother come live with me. But in retrospect, I'm looking at how she took care of my grandmother, how she took care of my dad, how she took care of, my aunt and uncle until they all passed away. I mean, she didn't know anything else but
Hmm.
that kind of care. So when it got dropped in my lap, because I was gonna have to be the one to, take care of her, it never dawned on me or never crossed my mind to put her in a nursing home. I had made in my mind that whatever happens is going to happen in the house. And I was just retrospective thinking, I guess God was preparing me because I went through it with her and my mom, my grandmother, so aunts and uncles, and I just really didn't know anything else other to do other than take care of her here at the house, and
Yeah.
it just worked out
There's
that way.
there's two other things that I want to touch on. One of them is doctor visits. Uh,
Yes.
when dad was alive, I took him to the doctor. The doctor explained certain things to me about dad and so on, and his organs and stuff like that. And I can deal with that really easily. I mean, he's a man like I am, and
Mhm.
I can work on those kind of things. I give you a real joke on that one. Maybe you can edit this out when you're ready. Like I told my brother that when I was cleaning dad, I saw certain things and so on. And my brother said, "My John, man, what are you talking about?" He says, I can't do this. I says, bruh, you should be able to do this. If you do this, you will know where you got that stuff from.
You got your manhood from if you.
You will know where you got that stuff that you're so proud of from.
Oh,
Man,
okay.
That was
yeah,
one
yeah,
thing. The other
John, we
thing with
don't edit
mom,
anything,
yeah,
right?
you can edit that one. The other thing, our mom was a little bit different.
Yeah,
You go to the doctor tell you certain things. Um, Women tend to suffer from urinary tract infections.
yeah. UTI.
Yeah, quite over because of the clothing that they have to wear, the
Right,
pamper stuff. It doesn't allow free flow and so on, and the medication that they have to take to help them out and so on.
right.
And they give you all these instructions as to what you need to do to facilitate to help your mom get through these things. No, then you're like, am I going to do this? Or should I get the female caregiver to do this? And what if it happened? Something happened during the time the female is not there, and I'm there by myself because mom
Yeah.
was very afraid to stay out by herself at night. She never
Mhm.
liked being alone at night. The daytime she might stay alone. She might the difference there is that she might walk away, and when they're away from home, you don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
What if that those eruptions happen when after the doctor gave me the instruction of what needs to be done, do I have to
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm gonna say this. I was blessed. That's why there has to be a God because thank God that whenever the caregiver would leave for the evening, my mother could make it as far as hygiene and changing her stuff to the morning till she came back. Because I can appreciate what you're saying. So I was blessed in that regard. There were a couple of occasions, like on weekends and stuff, but you know, like you say, urinary tract infection. I got the terminology down. It's a UTI. Well, I get it, and men get them too. But when your mom gets to be that age or older woman, it's not uncommon for them to have those things because of the medication, to your point. And
Mm.
they can compound
Yes,
uh, different things and manifest themselves differently because of other medications that they're taking.
right.
So I can relate to it, but I was blessed that it always just worked out. So,
And
uh,
and if one of those attacks came on and it's severe enough, it affects their mental health and they go crazy. It drives them nuts. And
yeah,
you don't know what's going on up here. All you know is that mom is having bad headaches and
yeah.
blah 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 blah. But
Mm.
you can give them Tylenol or whatever, but the problem might not be that. It might be the other
Well,
things.
so and to your point, so that's one of the things that all of us can say on here. You kind of got to get to know the person that you're taking care of,
Yes.
because then you can determine if you need to take them to the doctor, you can kind of tell them what their behavior is like so that the doctors don't misdiagnose them because of what they see.
Yes.
I experienced that with mom when she got sick, and I took her to the emergency room, and it was just after COVID had started, and they were like, "Well, you can bring your mom, but you can't go to the back with her if you bring her to the emergency room."
Right.
So I just said that's just not acceptable. She's 90 years old. She's having issues. I have to go back and be there so that when the doctors come to start diagnosing her, I need to let them know what medication she's on, what her regular behavior is, and how she's acting now so that they don't misdiagnose it and make a situation worse than it is. You just have to advocate sometime, but the bottom line is know your wife, your mom, your child, your daughter, whatever the case might be, and their behavior medications so that they get the right treatment and not get misdiagnosed. That was a learning curve for me. I know when she's acting squirrely and stuff like that, and I had to take her, and to your point, one of them was just a bad UTI, urinary tract infection. They
Right.
kept her in for 5 or 6 hours, got fluids, the antibiotics, and she was good to go.
And
So yeah,
that extended to another issue, a blessing in the sense that Barbados have universal health care.
Mm.
However, if you have to go to the hospital, uh, there's still long lines.
oh,
Maybe
yeah,
you can't see a doctor that quickly and stuff like that. It could be a tremendous wait. You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Waiting period. Now, my brother, who obviously a professor at the university and so on, and a lot of those graduates end up being doctors and so on. Based on his position, he is able to say, "Well, okay, if mom has to go to the hospital, yeah, he can call and say to a doctor that is a graduate of the university, look, mom is going to be in the hospital.
I need you to look out for her.
I want you to look out for her.
Hmm.
Uh, could you uh, designate a room where she could spend some time and blah,
Hmm.
blah, blah." And he was able to use his influence in that way. Again, he couldn't do the things I was doing, but he was able to provide
Yeah,
that extended type of caring
right.
that very critical in those moments.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because they definitely want to make sure that you know and you're taking care of it. And Reggie and I have had this conversation. If you don't show interest in your loved one, you may not always get the best person to care for your loved one. But if
That's
they
true.
see that you are, managing and looking out for them, they're a little more inclined to help you, help them get better.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, yeah, that was a very interesting experience for me. I took it very personal. Uh, I I never hesitated one moment to go down to Barbados and spend 5, 6 weeks and 7 weeks at a time to do that. And I took my golf clubs and so on. And
I'm
I would
sure.
I would I would call the neighbor and says, "Could you look in on mom for me? I need to spend 4 hours up there."
Yeah.
And I would have a neighbor or some extended family come to the house, and I go and play 4 hours of golf and come back.
Well,
And
that's interesting to your point. We all concur that caregivers sometimes just need some me time just to
yes,
get from under the situation for 3 or 4 hours, whatever. You definitely need some me time because, and we can have a subsequent conversation, but we've talked about what happens if the caregiver gets sick.
yes,
Right, right.
So yeah, the little me time is uh not unheard of and it's accepted.
You need that respite time just to rejuvenate
yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's tough. John, how long were you the caregiver for your mother?
I would say it was like close to 4.5 years. It was even during the pandemic too, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I leave here, I go to Barbados. I have to show them that I got my vaccinations. They was quarantine me for 5 days, sometime for 3 days
Yeah. Yeah. I remember
before I
that.
get, before I get to the house. And mom knows that I'm in the island, and she is very annoyed the fact that I'm not in the house with her.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm in a hotel somewhere being quarantined for 3, 4 days.
So did they
And
quarantine you, John, to come? Did you say they had to quarantine you to come back to the U.S. too?
well, before you come back, you have to get vaccinated. The United States require you to get vaccinated before you get back, before you get on that airplane to come to the United States.
Oh, wow.
And so you have to go and get that uh, vaccine
To come
before.
back.
Yes,
And you were in 5-day quarantine once you got on the island before you could go see your mom.
yes. At one point it
Wow.
was 5 days, then they reduced it to 3, and then it was one day after that. It keep coming down as a situation getting better, and I can understand that for a small island of 300, close to 300,000 people, and you have a massive spread of that kind of shut down the island.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So you
yeah.
had to be really, really aggressive in how they enforce that quarantine.
I
Okay.
understand. So, man, we're coming up on an hour. We've been talking for a while, but before, we sign off, I just wanted to, give praises and big ups to both you and Marlon for being willing and taking care of your mothers. I remember when I was about 5 or 6 years old, my dad specifically told me, always take care of your mother, never put her in a nursing home. And unfortunately, I never got the opportunity to take care of my mom. So in some respects, I envy you guys of showing your mothers such love. So,
Mhm.
mad praises to both of you.
It can be a tough decision. That's a conversation and a segment that we'll have. It can be a tough decision because everybody may not have the resources or the ability to take care of their parent or loved one at home. You
Hmm.
may not have an alternative but to put them in a nursing home. And that's just a whole different dynamic and conversation right there. I mean,
Absolutely. The
yeah,
fact is that uh, if there are if there are siblings available to take care of mom, fine. That's one thing. Second thing, uh, what kind of care are they going to get in that nursing home?
that's
Is it
right.
is it personal enough, or
Hmm.
are they going to be just shoved off in a corner?
Hmm.
And when you
Just
go
another
to
number in the
visit,
home.
that kind of stuff. What's the quality care in those homes and stuff like that? So there's a lot of issues to consider. In that I made a commitment that if mom has to go to a nursing home, it has to be a situation where we cannot take care of her at home. For
Right,
one, a physical issue or a mental issue enough that we can't handle at home.
right.
But if we can handle that at home, she's not going in a nursing home.
Yep.
Hmm. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
all right,
Well,
man.
look, we just want to say thanks, man, for coming on, and we may circle back to see you again. And uh, Reggie, any final thoughts?
Well, I was going to say yes. Thank you so much for joining us today. If we do circle back again, we may have to come down and do a remote location from Barbados.
Well, that would be wonderful. I appreciate going through these memories with you and Marlon, and giving me the opportunity to relive some of those moments. My mom was a great woman. She died at 92. She had seven of us. She never
Wow.
complained. In fact, she told me one day that she enjoyed the birth of all of her children. She enjoyed it
Wow.
tremendously. And I says, well, the least I can do is when I get opportunity to step up, do it.
Yeah. I like that.
All
Okay.
right.
Step up,
Yeah.
do
All
it.
right. Thanks, guys. Have a great
Thank
day.
you.
All right.
All
We got a
right.
little sign
One
off for us.
second.
Go ahead,
Hold
Reggie.
on. That is it for this edition of the Caregivers Network. If you like what you hear, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an edition. If there is a topic you'd like for us to explore in the future, please add that to your comments. You can always check us out at cgn1.org and leave a request, question, or comment. Thank you for joining the Caregivers Network.
And remember to shoot for the moon. And even if you miss, you'll still be amongst your stars.
Absolutely.
Take
All
good care,
Okay.
right.
man.
So
Thank
long,
you.
Cheers.
everybody. Thank
All
you.
All right.
right.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.